Remember when I covered the Kata Scott case and discussed the suspicious behavior of her boyfriend Taz, along with the theory about Keon King possibly being involved? Well, things just took a major turn. True Crime Nicole, the investigator who first highlighted the boyfriend's inconsistencies, recently sat down for an in-depth interview with Fugitive TV. And what she uncovered has only deepened my concerns about this entire case. Here's what makes Nicole's findings so significant. She actually spoke directly with Taz on the phone. During their conversation, his account of events was completely different from what he told the media. We're talking about two contradictory narratives from the same person. But it gets even more troubling. Nicole obtained text messages exchanged between Taz and Kada on the night of her death. The problem? Some of these messages were sent after the time Kada was already deceased. That timeline simply doesn't add up. In this breakdown, I'm going to walk you through everything Nicole revealed in that interview. If you had doubts about the boyfriend angle before, what you're about to hear will raise even more questions. This case has layers we're only beginning to uncover.
So yeah, I work with somebody that's kind of don't really discuss who it is, but she was in contact with him, as well as a few other people reached out to me that was in contact with him, and the stories that he gave. And so I basically was like, okay, I want to see what story he can give me, or like what story he'll give me in regards to the same type of things. So I reached out to him, and the reply was within, I would say, minutes. I don't remember if he ever told me. I don't think I ever talked to him about that stuff. He told me about like people messaging him negative things in his DMs, but it kind of went a different. It started off a little okay, and then it kind of just took a downfall from there. I asked him a few questions in regards to did he ever talk to her after he dropped her off that night. I also wanted to know if he was incarcerated before, and see if the research that I did was the right person, as well as confirming what his real name was, like if that was him. Um, and he was a little confused as to how I found him. And he has a landscaping he had a landscaping company before he was incarcerated some years ago, and his personal name is on there as well as his phone number. And so he confirmed that with me. He did confirm that he's been incarcerated. He gave me a storyline of how that night went, as well as he gave me a storyline of how he met Kata himself. And yeah, I mean, we didn't really talk long until it kind of took a downfall, but those were the main stories that he told me. And then he told me a lot about Kata herself. So it was kind of three different stories, and then that was it. That's all I ever spoke to him about. To what other people have, like, because he's been interviewed online and he's been talked to with other people, so as well as law enforcement. So I was kind of trying to figure out what the difference was between my conversation with him and others. Yeah, so he had a post from, I think it was the CFCF prison in Philadelphia. He had a video visit photo up on his Threads page on Instagram. And also I found one of his charges from previously, but it looks like he had violated probation or something, and ended up being incarcerated due to that. So if I remember correctly, he had dropped her off around, I want to say like 9:45, and then he said that she had left, she had ordered food for them, and he it was like wings, buffalo wings or something of that sort, and she had ate all the flats and left all of the drums for him. She kept telling him to eat, you need to eat, you need to eat. And I guess he stated that after the fact, she she had left the food in the car. And once he realized that the food was in the car, he messaged her, he called her, couldn't get a hold of her. Messages weren't delivering. And then that was the last conversation they had, was whenever he dropped her off. I do have the messages from him and her from that night and previously, and from what I see, I don't know if anything has been like edited, but I see one message that was sent a couple hours after she was alleged deceased by the police, and that was about the wings. So about like, you left your food in the car. And then he had messaged her the next morning, that's the 5th in the morning, asking her like, hey, what's up, or something. I forget what the exact message was. And then he had messaged her, I believe, one other time or 2 other times. And the last message, I think, was the evening of the 5th or the 6th. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I don't know of any phone calls, so I don't have the proof from the phone calls. I'm just going based off what he told me.
Multiple messages sent to a phone that was already off, to a woman who was already gone. Nicole admitted she couldn't verify whether those texts were altered before Taz showed them to her. All she had was what he chose to share, but even taking them at face value, the timing doesn't make sense. Why would you keep texting someone for 2 days straight when they're not replying? And why pretend everything's fine when your girlfriend has suddenly disappeared? This is where things start to get strange. When Nicole asked Taz how he first met Kata, his story sounded almost too odd to be real. He claimed he was driving home from work, stopped by a gas station to grab a backwoods cigar, and happened to be in Kata's neighborhood near a baseball field. That's when he said he spotted her, walking her dog, and thought she was beautiful. So what did he do next?
He stopped in the middle of the intersection, got out of his vehicle, and went and talked to her and approached her. And then he said, she said that I was crazy for that. And he said, I don't care how crazy I am. I don't care how crazy I sound to talk to somebody like you. So I just assumed that he might have been going to that gas station that Keon was alleged to be the plug at. Yeah, the media said that he was driving down the road and he rolled the window down and hollered at her. They also alleged that he said that she was an easy girl, like an easy approachable person. But I do have messages that he denied that. So like, he denied ever saying that. So I'm not too sure about, I don't know as far as what the news has put out in regards to that.
Hold up, let's think this through. You're a woman out walking your dog in your own neighborhood. A man suddenly stops his car in the middle of the street, gets out, and starts walking toward you. That's not charming, that's unsettling. It's the kind of thing that makes women uneasy, and later you'd probably look back and think, yeah, that was a red flag. But here's where things start to split. The media painted a different picture. According to reports, Taz claimed he was driving by, rolled down his window, and yelled something at Kada, calling her easy or saying she was easy to approach. Yet, when Nicole confronted him about that, he denied it completely. He messaged her, insisting he never called Kada easy. So now we've got 2 versions, one from Taz himself, another from the media. Fugitive TV made an important observation. There were only 2 people who could have told that story, Kada and Taz. But Kata's gone. So where did the media get their information? Did Taz tell them something different than what he told Nicole? Or did the media just get it wrong? And if so, how? Because usually those kinds of details come from someone on the inside. Something's off. Then there's another piece to consider. Taz told Nicole he was heading to a gas station in Kata's neighborhood when he saw her. Guess what's in that same area? The gas station where Keon King allegedly worked, the one locals called the plug. Nicole's theory is that maybe Taz wasn't just randomly driving by, maybe he was actually going to meet Keon. And if that's true, it changes the whole picture. If Taz and Keon already knew each other, Taz would have known exactly who to call if he wanted Kata gone. Keon would have been the perfect person to get close to her without raising suspicion. And if that's the case, this might not have been a coincidence at all. It could have been part of a plan from the very start.
I don't think he's guilty of killing her. I've never thought that he was the one that did it. Has it run my mind across my mind that things are a little suspect? Um, kind of, just because the stories are a little odd to me. Hopping out in the middle of the intersection just to talk to a female, a little odd to me. Also, um, what he's told other people in messages and what he's told me are two different things. Also, how he's approaching the social media world. He's very aggressive with social media content creators. I guess I can speak for myself. And I don't think he's guilty. But as of right now, in my heart, I think everybody's a suspect that had some type of communication with Kada, and at any point within around the time that she disappeared, I think everybody is a suspect until somebody is caught and until law enforcement says we have everybody. And there's nobody else out there. So that's kind of how I feel. I don't think anybody in my head is cleared.
Nicole also mentioned Taz's behavior on social media, and from her account, it hasn't been good. She described him as being confrontational with content creators, especially when they ask questions or point out inconsistencies in his story. Instead of clarifying things, he gets defensive and sometimes outright hostile. Nicole said her own interaction with him followed the same pattern. At first, things seemed civil, but the conversation quickly went downhill. The moment she started pressing for details or asking about his past, his tone shifted. Now, it's understandable that someone falsely accused might feel irritated or defensive, but there's a clear line between frustration and aggression, and according to Nicole, Taz crossed that line. His reactions weren't just emotional, they were combative, and that kind of response doesn't make people trust you more. It makes them wonder what you're hiding. And then there's the matter of the few items that were found.
So I know there was a few items that were found. I know there's a few items that were found along like by the high school, or was it the middle school, as well as by the burial site where she
Mm-hmm.
was buried. But one thing that stood out to me that was really odd was the earring that was found that matched where the burial site was, but it was found by the rec center gate. That was very odd to me. It kind of was like, how did it get there? What happened there? Was this her doing, or was this their doing? Whoever this person was or these people were. How did an earring get by the gate when her body wasn't by that gate? Whenever I looked at like the Google Earth image, the gate that I see is when you enter, there's a gate there. Go into the parking lot and you take a left into the parking lot. That's where they parked on in the entranceway that blocks going in and going out.
Let's get into the physical evidence. Nicole has been looking closely at what was found near the rec center, specifically an earring. It wasn't discovered near the burial site or the car, but right by the entrance gate, and it matched the jewelry Kata was known to be wearing. That raises an obvious question: how did it end up there? Nicole's considered a few possibilities. First, maybe it fell from Kata's ear while her body was being moved in a contractor bag. But if that's true, why was it so far from the car and not closer to where the main activity happened? Second, it could have been the weather. She mentioned the David Ellison case, where a key was later found in a storm drain after rain had shifted it from its original spot. So maybe the earring was displaced by rain or sprinklers. And then there's the third possibility. Someone could have placed it there intentionally, almost like leaving a clue meant to be found.
I think, wasn't there like some type of card that was left around, or a case? But I
Yep.
think I honestly feel like that could have been, I don't know. I don't know how those items could have been there. I don't know if they were just trying to give some type of clue or something. But even with them throwing things, also throwing things could have been a thing.
Yeah.
a possibility, just for the simple fact that the car wasn't burned until a couple days after. So day, he probably didn't know that he was going to burn this vehicle. So he then eventually was like, I gotta burn this vehicle, like, and I gotta get rid of it. So that initial day, he could have just started chunking things, or trying to bury things, or, you know, you never know if there was items on top of these items, but the weather blew it away. And that's where they ended up finding him. It could honestly be anything.
There were a few other items discovered: a card, a phone case, and a third object that hasn't been publicly identified. All of them were found near the school, not at the rec center. Here's what's bothering Nicole, and honestly, it raises questions for anyone paying attention. If Keon was calculated enough to burn the car and have it crushed to wipe out evidence, why wouldn't he get rid of these smaller items too? Why leave them behind unless he wasn't the one who left them there? Now, this next part takes a strange turn. Nicole said someone connected to the investigation, a detective or an insider, told her that Keon had an active warrant. It might have been for a DUI or tied to that earlier kidnapping case, but the warrant was sealed, meaning the public couldn't see it. Here's where things don't add up. Keon was pulled over on October 1st and only got a citation. No arrest. Then on October 6th, police pulled him over again. This time, they even admitted it was intentional. Yet, once again, no arrest.
So he had like an active warrant while, I don't know if it was the active warrant for the DUI or it was the active warrant for the kidnapping from the first case while he was out. So it was like two separate cases or something like that. But we can't see that online. Per the detective, we can't see that information online. They have that like sealed to where we can't access it. So he had got out, and then he had an active warrant. Somebody, he got extradited, or what, I don't, on one of the cases, and so he had appeared at court 2 times with an active warrant. I don't know why they kept pulling him over and watching him, because whenever they had that press conference, I think they said that they didn't get the video footage and the information until like I don't know when it was. It was after, around the time maybe that he was arrested, or they didn't get all the evidence.
Let's get into the surveillance footage from the rec center, because Nicole highlighted something most people don't realize. That video showing someone parking the car and burying Kata's body, it doesn't clearly show that the person was Keon. Police are relying on information from a confidential source, essentially an informant who identified the person in the footage as Keon, but the video itself reportedly isn't clear enough to make a solid visual ID. If that's true, it also means investigators might not be able to identify the other 2 people seen in that same footage. Here's another key detail. Police didn't even obtain that surveillance video until October 18th, 4 days after Keon turned himself in on October 14th. So when he surrendered, they didn't yet have the video evidence. What they likely did have was phone data, cell tower pings placing his phone near the rec center, but no visual proof at that point. Which raises a big question: why did Keon turn himself in before the video was even in play? Nicole also mentioned hearing claims about people involved being former law enforcement or having certain connections, but she hasn't been able to verify any of it. Her real question is whether anyone tied to this case has gang affiliations. After all her digging, talking to Taz directly, reviewing evidence, comparing stories, Nicole's take is that Taz probably didn't physically kill Kada. She's never believed he was the one who did it himself, but she does think there's something off. The timelines don't line up. His online behavior is volatile, and he's told different people different versions of what happened. From Nicole's perspective, anyone who communicated with Kada around the time she disappeared remains a suspect until police clear them, and that includes Taz. Because even if he didn't pull the trigger, that doesn't mean he wasn't part of the plan. If this was a setup, Taz would have had motive. He was the boyfriend, had a history of violence, and ran a landscaping business that could provide the kind of connections needed to make something like this happen. Keon, on the other hand, had a history of kidnapping and was known for getting his hands dirty. Together, they fit the mold of a murder-for-hire dynamic, one with motive and means, the other with the willingness to act. And then there's the car, crushed almost immediately after the murder. That's not something just anyone can pull off. Nicole pointed out that destroying a vehicle that quickly and completely erasing evidence takes organization, resources, and connections. That's not random, that's structured, that's gang-level or mob-style behavior. So either Keon had those connections himself, or he was working with someone
Been
who did.
always having this question in the back of my head because crushing a vehicle and removing evidence completely, that's things that happen in a gang.
Yep.
That's something that is conspired. I think I watched something and they said this is mob mentality. And it's not just a general person that does this. Like, this is somebody that whoever he conspired with has some type of connections as well,
Yep.
which could possibly be either he had the connection or the person that he conspired with had these connections, that are willing to sit here and remove evidence completely, because that's what they did. They removed the main evidence that is needed for this case.
Yep.
And would be extremely big. But as far as like the attorneys and the DA, I think they've said it for themselves multiple times, where they dropped the ball on this case, and they dropped the ball in the past, and they're going to change. But I don't live in Philadelphia, and from what I know from the locals, this is something that Krasner has said for the whole time he's been running and he's been elected. So I don't know if anything's going to change. I don't know. I pray that it does, because the system is failing these domestic violence situations. And everybody across Philadelphia, something needs to be done. And I didn't know how the corruption was until I started covering this case, but it definitely is corrupt, and everybody in Philadelphia knows about it.
One thing that really stood out from that interview was how deeply rooted the corruption in Philadelphia seems to be. Nicole admitted she had no idea how bad it was until she started digging into the Kada case, but now she says it's impossible to ignore. The district attorney, Larry Krasner, has been talking about reform and accountability for years, yet nothing seems to actually change. The system keeps letting down domestic violence victims. Cases are dismissed,
I think my
charges
overall
disappear,
opinion
and
right
suspects
now, based
keep
off
walking
like
free.
my coverage on other cases, I'm I'm a 50-50 right now. And I'll tell you why. I'm 50-50 because I feel like they already have the people that helped him. I feel like they already have them, but they are holding on to them for some type of reason, as far as possibly trying to stack up probable cause on other charges and get them at the highest rate for to allow them not to post any bond or to prosecute them at the highest rate, or they don't have any coverage, or I'm sorry, evidence that can sit there and say this is who it is. I don't even know if the video footage from the rec center is even clear to even depict who these people are, because if you go back in the affidavit and you read it, that video footage didn't depict that it was Keon. It was somebody that was a top contact that said that it was Keon. So they're going based off of somebody else's opinion that was in communication with that text now number saying that it was Keon, rather than depicting on a video camera. So I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna arrest anybody. I hope so. I think we sit here every single day waiting to get an update. I Google every single day and reach out to my locals. Hey, is there anything new today? And there's nothing. It's been silent for a while. And I'm doing my part to try to keep the volume up. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I pray and hope that they get these people soon, possibly even before his preliminary hearing. And that's a whole nother situation, too.
The question weighing on everyone's mind, will the other two individuals visible in that video footage be arrested? Nicole is divided on this. Part of her suspects law enforcement may already have them in custody, but is holding back strategically, possibly building a more comprehensive case, adding charges, or ensuring bail won't be granted. Alternatively, she considers that police may simply lack sufficient evidence. If the footage quality isn't clear enough for positive identification, making arrests could jeopardize the case. Regarding Keon's situation, Nicole anticipates this will go to trial. From the evidence she's reviewed, she doubts the prosecution can meet the beyond a reasonable doubt standard. She even predicts some lesser charges may be dismissed at the grand jury stage. However, she emphasizes an important distinction. Questioning the strength of evidence isn't the same as declaring innocence. Given Keon's history, Nicole believes he's certainly capable of these actions. She simply questions whether prosecutors can prove it conclusively. Fugitive TV added an interesting perspective. Much hinges on Keon's attorney Shaka, who's known more for negotiating plea agreements than courtroom victories. If Shaka believes he can win, he'll likely advise taking it to trial. But if the evidence appears overwhelming, expect him to push for a plea deal. In my assessment, the witnesses hold the key. If either person from that video agrees to testify against Keon, the case is essentially sealed. Direct eyewitness testimony would be far more powerful than grainy footage. But if those witnesses vanish, refuse cooperation, or are silenced through intimidation or payment, Keon could potentially walk free. That possibility is deeply troubling. Nicole remains committed to this case, hosting nightly live sessions on TikTok and Facebook around 7 East 8 p.m. Central, sharing developments and facilitating discussion. Fugitive TV continues similar coverage, and I'm staying on this story too, because Kada Scott deserves justice, and her family deserves answers. Here's what I want to know from you. Considering everything Nicole's discovered, those text messages sent after Kata's death, Taz's contradictory accounts of how they met, the curious connection to the gas station where Keon worked, should investigators be looking more closely at Taz? Are we looking at a coordinated attack, or did Keon act independently? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The more attention this receives, the harder it becomes to bury the truth. Rest in peace, Kada Scott. Your story isn't forgotten.